Hey everyone, my name is Mars, like the planet, and this is Housewarmin. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I wish I knew before I went on SSRIs or antidepressants, and more specifically, before I started Lexapro. So I've posted a few videos about my mental health journey, about my struggles with anxiety, about being on Lexapro. So I am 28 years old and I have been struggling for the better part of a decade, almost over a decade, with anxiety, more specifically social anxiety. It made it really hard for me to function sometimes. I was that type of person that had to be controlling in every single aspect of my life. If we were going out, I needed to know who was going to be there, what are we going to wear, what's the address, what time do they open, what's the menu. I need to know everything before I even say yes. I had a really hard time being perceived a lot of the times. I had a hard time going out, meeting new people, making new friends. I was just overwhelmed and consumed with anxiety. It was just debilitating at some points because I wanted to go out. I wanted to have a better life. My anxiety was just so crippling and debilitating that I just couldn't function and I couldn't do it. I also was struggling with delusions. I felt like everyone hated me. I felt like no one wanted to be my friend. I felt like all of my real friends were just talking about me behind my back. I also suffered from suicidal ideation. While I did not attempt suicide at all, I did feel like sometimes it was just so overwhelming that it was better if I just didn't exist anymore, that I was just gone. I also struggled with self-harm. I would scratch my arm, I would hit my leg, and this was just because I did not have any self-control over my emotions. When I felt my emotions, whether it was anger or sadness, it was at a 10, it was at 100. I was always just so overly emotional and oversensitive and highly sensitive to a lot of things that, people weren't even trying to hurt my feelings, would send me into a tailspin. And it just made me feel like a burden to all of my friends and family. So I decided that I wanted to go to therapy. And my first encounter with therapy was when I was in the 6th grade and I self-harmed for the first time. And my mom took me to therapy and I saw her for a total of 1 day. And that was it. And that was my first introduction to therapy. And I went the better part of my high school years and my college years before I ever visited therapy again. So this is the first hurdle that it just was so hard for me to get over, because if I'm already a person with social anxiety, how am I supposed to get to therapy? I know that there are websites like BetterHelp, which this video is not sponsored at all, but I know there are services like BetterHelp where you can go online and maybe it's a little bit easier to connect with a therapist. But to find a traditional therapist that you're going to go in and sit on their sofa and talk to them, it feels impossible when you have social anxiety. It feels impossible when you have delusions. It feels impossible when you are depressed to get up and to find a therapist, because it's not like you can just look one up and call them up and just show up. It does not work that way at all. You have to pay for a therapist. You either have to use your insurance or you have to pay out of pocket. Most of the time, it's not just a, one click and that's it. You have to search through a list of therapists that maybe accept your insurance. You then have to find a therapist that works with your schedule, and then you have to actually go to therapy consistently. And if you are paying out of pocket, it can get very, very expensive. So that is just the first hurdle that I had to get over. And I was very, very privileged to where the first time I went to therapy was actually covered by my mom's insurance. And that was a privilege in and of itself. So I got 6 free sessions, but I had to find my own therapist. I had to find someone that could work with my schedule, because I worked Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So a lot of therapists work through the day, and I had to end up trying to find a therapist that would meet with me after work. Then I had to try to leave my job after work and go to therapy. A lot of people have kids, they have extra jobs, they have family to take care of, they have other obligations to where it is almost impossible to go to actual therapy to get help that you need. And not to mention, you're still anxious, you're still depressed, you're still, figuring out, like, you still want to hurt yourself, you still want, to think about dying almost, so it's very, very hard as a person with mental health issues to pick themselves up and go to therapy. So I was truly just struggling trying to even get to therapy. I knew I wanted to go, but I was like, oh my gosh, like, how do I call this lady and what do I say and how do I sign up? And I have to be an adult and I really don't want to. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And you have everybody in your ear. You have your family, your friends, your coworkers, everybody. You're watching TikToks, you're watching YouTube videos, and they're all saying 10 million different things, and you need to try to figure out, okay, what's the truth and what's not the truth. Should I be talking to this person? Should I be seeing a psychiatrist? Should I be in a psych ward? Like, it's overwhelming. Going to therapy and then getting on anxiety medication is overwhelming. It is so hard. It is so hard. And so it's like, I empathize with people who are like, I'm scared. I can't do it. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the effort. I don't have the mental capacity to even help myself right now. It is debilitating to try to help yourself when your own brain is turning against you. So, I was so privileged in the fact that I found a therapist. But when I started going to therapy, my therapist was like, oh, have you considered going on anxiety medication? Have you considered seeing a psychiatrist? And I was like, no, nothing's wrong with me. Like, I don't need to be on medication. Like, I'm not crazy. I don't need to be on medication. And so it took me years to even accept the idea of being on anxiety medication, because my anxious brain, my delusional brain was saying, what is everybody else going to think? What are my parents going to think? My friends going to think? What's the world going to think that I'm the girl that's on anxiety medication? Like, people are going to think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I just need a little therapy and I'm fine. I don't need something that extreme. I don't need to go on medication or anything. So I really was turned off by the fact that my therapist wanted me to be on medication. And, then on top of that, I really felt like the therapist that I had was not working for me at all. So I had to start the process all over again to find another therapist. And once again, she asked the same question. She was like, okay, have you ever thought about being on medication? I told her, absolutely not. I will not be on anxiety medication because nothing is that wrong with me. I need therapy. That's why I'm here with you. And it was just such a mental hurdle because I was here. I had done the work. I had gotten the therapist for the second time. And once again, I felt like my therapist was not listening to me. I felt like all they were trying to do was push medication. I did not want to be on medication at all. And I just felt like it was not working. So after going through now one, but two different therapists who were trying to push medication on me and they were just not connecting with me on that level, I finally found I guess they say like third time's a charm. I finally found my therapist that I stuck with, that I absolutely loved. And I just think that I had to go through two different therapists. Imagine the people who give up after just one. Imagine the people who are like, this is not working. This is not for me. I'd rather just be anxious and depressed and just lay in bed all day or just struggle the rest of my life because the therapist that I tried, therapy is just not working for me. And I think some people don't realize that it takes time to find a therapist that's going to work for you. And that just makes it like, let's look at it again. Like, you not only have to address that you have a problem, you not only have to find a therapist, go through your insurance, pay for them, go to therapy. You have to actually find one that you actually like, stick with them, keep going to therapy, keep paying out of pocket, because not to mention therapy is so expensive. So it's just like this hill that you cannot get over. And you see the promised land on the other side and everyone's like, therapy's wonderful and I love medication. People like me, I love medication. I love Lexapro. And you're just on the other side of this hill like, when am I going to get there? How do I get over this hill? This feels like an impossible battle because when I was going to therapy, it's not like the movies where you're sitting on a sofa and it's this big room and your therapist is just beautiful with long flowy hair. Some might be, but beautiful with long flowy hair and you're just, talking to them and you're laid up on the sofa. That is not how therapy is. Therapy is slow and it takes a long time and it's very expensive, but it is worth it. I will say that you cannot expect therapy to work the first time that you go. You cannot expect it to work the sixth time that you go, because for me, I was going to therapy for 1 hour every other week because honestly, that's all I could afford. So you can equate that to the fact that I was talking to my therapist 2 hours out of the entire month. It's just not enough time. So there were times where I started to feel frustrated by the fact that therapy was not working and I was shelling out all of this money and I was just like, I'm not feeling better. Like, everybody's talking about therapy like it's some wonderful thing and it's just not working for me. Like, why is it not working? I've been through 3 different therapists. I'm constantly going, I'm doing the work. I'm just not seeing the results that I'm wanting. I'm still anxious. I'm still delusional. I still am having suicidal ideation. I cannot function. What's the problem? And so my therapist sat me down and she was just like, you need to be on medication. And I was just like, why does everybody keep saying I need to be on medication? Nothing is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with me. And she was like, listen to me. And then this is what she said that finally made it click. She was like, you see medication as like the end all be all. Like people who have very serious mental health issues, they get put on medication. But you don't think that you are worse off or bad off enough to be on medication. And I was like, exactly. I don't need medication. My anxiety is not that bad to where I need to be on medication. And she was like, it's not like that. You need to be on medication first. And then we can actually start to do the therapy, and you can do, the different things that I'm suggesting to you. You can actually start to put yourself out in the world when you're on medication. And she basically equated it to when you're about to go out into the cold, you put on a jacket, you put on a coat. You don't wait to freeze to death before you're deciding to put on a coat. You need to put on protection first before you go out into the world. You need to take medication first and then go out into the world. You don't wait till you're on your death door. You don't wait till you're on death's doorstep and then decide to go on medication. You need to protect yourself first, and then the therapy will start to make sense. Because before I went on medication, my therapist was always like, well, I want you to try this thing, and I want you to read this article, and I want you to do this and do that. And while I loved it because she was actually taking the time to help me, I was like, I have anxiety. How am I supposed to go out and do this? How am I supposed to try breathing exercises? I'm anxious. Like, my brain is not listening to me to tell me to take 5 deep breaths in. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And she was like, you need to be on medication. You need your coat first before we go out into the cold and fight through the snow a little bit. And that's when it finally clicked for me. And I was just like, I get it. I need to be on medication first. And then I need to start unpacking all of the childhood trauma that I have. And then I need to start working on my social anxiety. And then I can start to actually manage it because I'm on medication. And so that really clicked for me. And it took me so long, though, to finally understand. And I remember being so scared. I was so worried about being addicted. I was so worried that I was going to be a zombie. I was so worried what other people were going to say about me. And then the next hurdle came, because my therapist wasn't just going to say, okay, here's your anxiety medication. I had to book an appointment with my doctor. So many people do not have a primary care physician, have never been to the doctor. So imagine you are finally in therapy. You are finally making some headway, and your therapist tells you, okay, you need to go on medication. You need to then make a consultation with your doctor. You need to actually go to the doctor. You need to be prescribed the medication. Then you need to pick it up from the pharmacy. And then you need to actually start the medication. And once you start it, it's not like it's going to work the first day. It takes up to 6 weeks for it to work. And then you might feel a little bit better. So you can just imagine this uphill battle. And mind you, you're still anxious. You're still depressed. You can have this nihilistic view of I got to go through all of this just to feel better. Is it even worth it anymore? Is it really even worth it at this point? I got to find a therapist. I got to go to therapy. I got to go to the doctor. I got to get on the medication. The medication take a month and a half to work. By that point, I'm just about to give up. And I promise you, I was ready to give up. I was just I got to go through all of this just to not be anxious. Dang. It's so much to get through to finally feel better. And I think that's the thing that I kind of felt into the trap of, is once I got on Lexapro, of course, I loved it. It was amazing. I sing Lexapro's praises forever. I love the fact that I went on antidepressants or SSRIs. I love it. I truly am changed because of Lexapro. Because of Lexapro, I am able to go out into the world and meet people and go to the gym and go on vacations and have fun with my friends and not be delusional or feel depressed or self-harm or have suicidal ideation, all because of Lexapro. All because of a little 20 milligram pill that I took every single day. I was on Lexapro for an entire year, and I finally felt so well that I decided to come off of it in May of 2023. That's how much Lexapro has changed my life. But I would not be, I can't just sit here and say, get on Lexapro. It's amazing. It's amazing. I see all of these comments on my YouTube videos saying, I'm scared. My parents don't want me to do it. I just don't know. I'm at the end of my rope. I see all of these comments of people wanting to be on medication, but I would not it wouldn't be right of me to sit here and just say, oh, everybody get on medication, it's the best, when I know the hurdles that I had to go through to get where I am today. It took me almost 7 years to get where I am today. But I invested in myself. I invested the time, the energy, the money, all of the heartache, all of the drama that I was going through in my personal life. I forfeited all of that because I personally wanted to get better. So it's really hard to sit here and say, oh, just go to therapy. Oh, just get on medication, because it's so hard. And it's kind of sad, honestly, how hard it is to get help, how hard it is to pick yourself up and actually get the help that you need. I think that it's an external factor and an internal factor, honestly. I think it's so hard when you are struggling to acknowledge that you have a problem and actually get the help you need. That time in between there is just so long. I understand why people give up. I understand why people are scared. And that is the thing that I wish I knew before starting Lexapro, is that this journey is going to be long. It's going to be hard, but it is going to be so worth it in the end. And I know that I did a lot of complaining just now, but my main reason for sharing all of this is that I get it. I understand that it is very, very hard when you have an entire life, when you have children, when you have a job. You might have 2 jobs. You might have financial issues. You might not have a car. You might not have insurance. You might have other health issues that are plaguing you that make going through life with anxiety, you know, a million times harder. So I can understand and I empathize with people who are just like, this is hard. This sucks. Like, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to go to therapy and be on medication, but like, how am I supposed to do this and have anxiety and deal with the rest of my life? So I really just empathize with people. And I will say that, you know, if you are having doubts about therapy, if you are having doubts about medication, I get it. Like, I don't really have a simple solution because I don't want to sit up here like I know better. I don't want to sit up here like I'm a doctor, but trust me, I get it. And I understand how long and hard this journey is. And the first day that my therapist suggested that I go on medication was like 7 years ago. It was a long time ago. And it's like part of me wishes that I would have just listened to her and I could have felt better sooner. But I didn't even know what the journey was going to be like to get there. I had no idea what it even entailed to get on medication or how it would just change my life. So it's like, while I sing the praises of Lexapro, while I say that being on anxiety medication, being on antidepressants, being on SSRIs truly changed my life and has made me a better person, I also can see how hard it is to get where I am today. And I'm proud of me. Can I like brag for a little bit? I am proud of myself for getting here. The fact that it took me 7 years to get here, to finally stand up and want better for myself and to actually do it. Like, you can't tell me nothing now. Like, I've been to therapy, I've been on medication, and I am so much better now. But I know how hard and how long it does take to get to like the promised land, basically, as I call it, to get to that spot where you feel better and you can go through life better. I understand. Trust me, I understand. I really hope that like I was making sense in this video, and I hope that this reaches the right people. And I hope that you really understand like what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to explain. I know that I ramble a little bit, but I just want to say that like, I really encourage you to share your story down in the comments. I really encourage you, if you have any questions about Lexapro, I've already made a couple of videos about them, about being on Lexapro. Currently, I am not on Lexapro at all. Just to say, reiterate, I was on Lexapro for about a year, and then I stopped in May of this year, May of 2023. So yeah, I was on Lexapro about a year and a few months, but I started to feel better. I started to love my life again. And I truly like decided for myself to take myself off of anxiety medication. So like I said, I understand that it's scary. I understand that maybe your parents don't want you to be on medication. I understand that you might be worried about what to think. I understand that some people just can't even afford it, but I will say that it truly changed my life. And I hope that if you choose to go on anxiety medication, that it truly changes your life. So that was a lot. That was a lot just now. I feel like I said a whole lot. I really hope you understand. I really hope you can understand that this is coming from my heart. I just kind of had to get this out here. I understand that there is a community of people that are struggling with mental health, that are struggling with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, self-harm, all of those things. I understand that those people are out there. And I really just think it is so helpful to share my story, to encourage people out there to share their stories, because talking about mental health is still so taboo, especially in this country, especially in the South, especially as a woman, as a Black woman. It is so hard to talk about mental health and get people to take you seriously, especially your parents, older people, your grandparents. It's so hard to get people to take you seriously, because the second that you say you're thinking about going on medication, people start thinking that you're crazy. People be like, oh, you don't need that. Oh, you're going to get addicted. People try to talk you down like you just don't need the help that you really need. So, I can understand, where that stigma comes from, but I just truly advocate for talking about mental health always, constantly, and just telling people, you're not alone. And I truly see the struggle. I truly see the fight. You are so strong. You are so, important and loved. And I get what you're going through. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I encourage you to comment down below. Like I said, I will link the other videos that I've made about my mental health journey, as well as being on Lexapro and why I stopped being on Lexapro. I've already made videos about all of that, but I truly hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos every single Wednesday, so I will see you guys next week. Bye.